enlisting the help of a wildcat. Here's your look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Infinite Frontier Grifter. A mercenary with a Black Ops pass, Cole Grifter Cash has a shot of redemption when he's hired to be the personal bodyguard of billionaire Lucius Fox. Cash is playing a deadly game, however, tangling with Batman and his family, as well as the evil Leviathan organization, all the while secretly working for a mysterious team known only as the Wildcats. First, before we begin, I'd like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys, who did make this review possible by sending over Grifter that we could have a look at in this video. Grabbing now the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands, taking it right to the very top of his head. Grifter is about 6.5 inches in height, or the figure is going to be roughly about 16.25 centimeters tall. Bringing in a couple of figures now for comparisons. This is what Grifter looks like next to one of the Red Hoods we've gotten before from McFarlane Toys. And for a purpose of displaying him with a Batman, I like to really display him along with the 3 Jokers Batman, as I prefer this Batman to be a little bit bigger and bulkier. On to now the accessories that come included with Grifter. First, you get yourself a trading card. The trading card uses, once again, figure photography. In this case, he's actually not holding anything. It looks as if he's almost going for a driver's license photo. In this case, probably would have asked him to unmask. Down below, you've got Grifter Infinite Frontier, and then on the back, if you certainly would like to pause and read it for yourself, so happens to also be the same thing I read at the very beginning of this video. I saved you guys the trouble. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and add that to my collection of trading cards we've gotten thus far from the DC Multiverse line. To go along with that, and another thing I can add to my collection, is yet another black display stand. Once again, we've got the DC logo printed down below. It seems like it's a little bit more faded this time around, though. And one singular peg in the same place as the singular peg always is. And this can attach the underside of Grifter's feet. Going to put that to the side as well. Talking a little bit about the elephant in the room, for me at least, when I picture Grifter, being a big fan, actually, of Wildcats. Wildcats, you may not know this, but Wildcats was the very first Image comic I ever picked up. Wildcats #1. I think I actually collected, still have in my collection, in fact, the majority of the Wildcats run. Absolutely love that line. But the figure doesn't come included with guns, which is a bit of a disappointing thing, but we already sort of know now the territory that they're having to cover. Now, McFarlane is releasing a standalone ammunition pack that's going to come with a ton of different guns, so there's always that option available. I might actually even go one further and maybe pillage some of the pistols that came included with an earlier Red Hood. Maybe just use those instead. But what he does get offered up instead is a big giant katana. You can see it's serrated down below, good for slicing bread. This has all been done more of a softer plastic, a dark gunmetal gray. The guard and the hilt has been colored in more of a mustard yellow. And that same color combination is also used for the smaller hunting knife he comes included as well. I don't mind the fact that he actually comes included with a knife. I think that's a nice touch. But I almost would have swapped the plastic. I know. I would have swapped the plastic instead on the katana instead for a pair of pistols instead. That's just me. I know obviously they can't really do that. You can take either one of the weapons, or you can take really both of the weapons if you want to and display them in his hand. Now the hands are already designated for trigger firing fingers. So you already know that they had planned to release this guy with guns before, of course, they were not allowed to. So we're going to go ahead and take now the hunting knife. I'm going to fit one into his one hand. And then we're going to go ahead and take the katana. It doesn't have to be this. You don't have to commit to this side of his body. But we're going to put, in this case, the katana on the other side of his body. So at least he's got something. I would actually have been more disappointed if the figure came included with no accessories. So the fact that at least he comes included with a katana, bing, and he also comes included with a small hunting knife, ching, that's at least something. By the way, there is no storage place on Grifter where you can actually take either one of the weapons and holster them on him. There could have been a place right here, but instead they favored a pocket, probably for holding ammunition. And they probably could have put like a little holster or something on the side of his boot, but they did not. Taking, though, the accessories and removing them from Grifter's hands, we'll come back to those later, I think, for final looks of the figure. Getting a closer look now at Grifter's head sculpt. It is a very classic-looking Grifter, although his costume does change quite a lot from the way he looked in the original Wildcat run. I gotta say, like, there's nothing more classic than the head sculpt they decided to go with here. Grifter essentially has like a really long mask on the front that's tied up here on the back, and then it gives the opportunity for his hair, his long flowing gold locks, to come out the top of his head here. The head sculpt very much looks good. I mean, very much in the sense it does look like a classic looking Grifter. Colors are kind of kept pretty simple here, and I'm not bothered by that at all. Like, his mask is really more to like a very orangey red, and then he's got the little notations, the little black markings here on the side of his face, allowing a great opportunity for those very pale white eyes to peer through. Really, really no complaints at all with the head sculpt. You can even see, if we just peel back the collar a little bit there, that they actually have taken the time to sculpt a tied-off knot on the back of his mask. A little touch of detail I certainly do appreciate. His hair is nicely sculpted too, and it gave them also the opportunity to add additional wash of another color. It seems like they've actually added like a slight bit of brown to an otherwise very off yellow hairstyle. And again, I really like that. I like the head sculpt quite a lot. As for the rest of his outfit, it's not more what I'm used to seeing here for Grifter. I think actually he's more known to have a long trench coat, but in this case, he's actually got a shorter jacket, which has actually been attached here and here to the shirt that's underneath. So you can't remove the jacket. Not that you would anyways, because obviously the sleeves, which is only match a continuation of the jacket anyways, but at least they've used softer plastic, and then they just, they affixed it. They adhered it to the top of his torso. But at least it does give you some flexibility, some allowance down below there on his jacket. Softer plastic, like I said, so it gives you also a chance to see some nice little wrinkles that they put on the jacket. The sleeves also carry that over nicely as well. Sleeves matching to the plastic that they use for the jacket is pretty close. I mean, if you look at the sleeve here, it seems like it's a slightly darker shade of the green than what we get here for the jacket, but it's pretty close. The hands also, though, match his mask. He's all for matching colors, after all. So again, you kind of got that more orangey, kind of looks like a taffy kind of cherry red that they've used for the gloves. Now, they've actually continued using the same peg color as they did for the hand, which I guess would be good because that would be the bottom of his glove after all. If they had used, say, a black, then his hands wouldn't look like they would be gloves. They would actually look more like his hands been painted red. Like I said, I do like the jacket. The head sculpt is fantastic on this guy. And then even just like underneath, it looks like he's wearing like a SWAT vest. He's got like several pockets. Who knows what he's actually storing inside of those pockets? They're not symmetrical either, as he has two on the one side and one only on the other. He's got also a belt that drapes down also. And one thing that's good, at least about the belt, I'm just going to kind of move his jacket out of the way, is that the belt is separate. So if you thought to yourself, is that going to cause problems when it comes to articulation on the figure? No, not at all. This is, it's not attached, it's not married to anything at all. Got the big large pocket there on to the side that we already had a look at. He's got a pocket that matches the color, of course, of the brown of the pants. And he's got some really decently sculpted army boots there as well. I feel like maybe the army boots maybe have too much coloring going for them. I maybe would have pulled that back a bit. I mean, I like when color gets added to plastic, but I feel like in a case like this, I wouldn't have not added this wash of kind of this off gray color. I probably would have even just kept it the same color as this, and maybe even just scuffed up the bottoms of his soles more than anything else with the paint. Speaking of the undersoles of his feet, you can see there's the pegs on both the sides. That's going to attach, of course, to that display stand we will do in a second. But for the articulation here for Grifter, his head sculpt is on a ball joint. You probably could imagine, though, that because he's got the higher collar, it's going to limit a bit of the articulation. And you're right. You can do it this way, and you can do it this way. You can do it looking up and looking down. So you have a bit of a brooding Grifter. But like rotating the head, you can certainly see there's a little bit of restrictions just because he's got the collar on either side of it. The arms come out. There's a single pin and hinge joint working for the shoulders here. So you can bring them up at about 90 degrees, a little bit more than 90 degrees maybe. You can take the arms and rotate them all the way around. The figure does have a bicep swivel. Maybe focus over here. Figure has a bicep swivel. We all kind of want to jump back and forth between hands from time to time. He does have a double hinge on the elbow, and then he has articulation in the hands, back and forth this way as well. Upper torso is on a ball joint, but I notice more as when I'm moving the top of the torso. Even though he has torso articulation right here, I feel like while I'm doing it this way, more of the articulation is getting worked down below here and not so much up at the top. But he does technically have two places, one here and one here. Legs again split out. You've got a nice ratcheted joint here. Can you hear that? Talk about ASMR. You can take the legs and move them forward and back. Now, while looking at the thighs, actually, for a second, I thought that there was a swivel cut right here. See, there's a line right around this section that's been embedded into the plastic. He's got it technically on this side as well, but there is no articulation. And it wouldn't make any sense anyways, because obviously the pocket connects the two parts of those legs anyways. Figure does have a double hinge on the knee. The figure has no articulation here in the boot. I thought there may have been articulation, but not the case at all. His feet do move forward and back this way. He has an ankle pivot this way, and the figure also has toe articulation as well. Some may not like toe articulation on figures. I actually do like toe articulation. It just gives you a little bit of extra mileage to work with. Granted, in the state that he is right now without a display stand, you really wouldn't be able to use much of that toe articulation. But yeah, that's why these display stands are here anyways and packaged along with the figure. Overall, nice looking Grifter here. Kind of enough of that classic look that I'm used to seeing when I was growing up reading the Wildcat comics. I gotta still see if I can find those. I know they're stored away right now. Maybe they're still even at my parents' house. Oh, geez, I hope they haven't sold them. But yeah, I mean, I grew up reading the Wildcat comics. Long before I was even collecting Spawn, I was collecting Wildcat. And it's nice to see we finally not only get Grifter into the DC universe, but also make an appearance here in the DC multiverse, as the figure turned out really good here. The only real stumbling block that Grifter suffers by is the accessories that McFarlane's team decide to pack along with him. The fact that we already know this character is always guns a-blazing, and the fact that the figure does have sculpted hands with trigger-firing fingers kind of gives you an idea of really what he was supposed to come included with, but unfortunately due to that silly mandate with none of the figures being allowed to be released with actual weapons or guns, he instead gets swapped out with a very awkward katana and a hunting knife. I like the hunting knife, but the katana, at least for me, does seem a bit out of place. So I will be planning to pick up down the road that gun accessory pack that McFarlane Toys are releasing separately to at least cover off the territory of all these figures that really so desperately needed guns. Or it can always go the route of using also any one of the guns that came included with the previous DC Multiverse line before this mandate even came into place in the first place. Now, when it comes to certainly the sculpting of Grifter, while he is more of a modern costume than what I'm used to seeing when I originally read the comics with him appearing in the pages, still it's enough of a Grifter that I recognize him right away. That telltale mask that he wears, so brightly handled and painted by McFarlane's team, still has a classic-looking Grifter design to him, and I really like the way that this one did turn out, whether he came included with guns or not. Bit of a bummer, though, he didn't come included with guns. Big thank you to the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did once again provide this sample of Grifter that we could have a look at in this video. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And are you also a bit bummed that unfortunately none of these figures can come included with guns or weapons that match guns? It's strange that swords and knives, things that can still impale people and cause some serious damage, are fine. They're okay. We just can't use guns. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the idea that these figures can't come included with weapons like that. Also, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit it with a like? If you're loving the content that you're seeing and certainly want to stick around for more, then yes, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn the bell notification on. Because while we have wrapped up the review for a pretty cool looking Grifter, there's definitely going to be a lot more DC Multiverse reviews coming your way in the not so distant future. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.